Segue. You
Right.
like that segue?
A little chatty. That was a good segue.
That's good.
Uh-huh.
The best. I'll never forget.
Yeah. Sorry for everybody waiting. We're just sitting here talking. It's like, oh yeah, God, let's do this. Let's do it because we got 10 games, Bloom, because I had to go talk to Matt Patricia. It was riveting. I'm sure you can imagine. Although he did say he had good questions.
Good.
Anyway, Carolina, Indianapolis, part 2 of the Week 16 preview here on the Audible, the Footballguys.com podcast. And Carolina took a lot of DJ Moore questions last night. Okay, Chris McCaffrey, you're starting him. You don't listen to this show for that. But DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, looks like Greg Olson's going to play. That crushes Ian Thomas. It all comes back to Will Grier. Now, it kind of comes back to, in this post-truth era, Bloom, like, what did you think about Will Grier? Before the draft, during the preseason, all those sorts of things, because I like Will Grier. I like Will Grier at the Senior Bowl. I liked him coming out. Thought he'd be a nice mid-round pick. And then you heard the things out of Carolina like, nah. And it was Kyle Allen that got the job when Cam Newton goes down, not Will Grier, not this rookie. So the Will Grier starting at quarterback, that news item, Bloom, how does that change your expectations for this Panthers offense, especially those guys not named Christian McCaffrey?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be skeptical. And you're right. You bring up post-truth. What's interesting here is I liked Will Grier. I think Matt Waldman liked Will Grier. I don't want to speak for him. We can talk about that.
Yeah, we did. We liked him at the Senior Bowl.
Tonight. So I would be cautiously optimistic about him. And I think that mentality-wise, he's closer to Drew Lock than Mason Rudolph. I mean, just he goes out there and he throws it. I mean,
yeah. Oh, he loves to sling it.
He's a kind of quarterback who looks like if anything, he sees things that aren't there and causes problems. He's not reluctant to throw the ball. So that's good. But as you said, we also have this other piece of data that Carolina, I think, soured on him. I mean, the people in the building didn't really want to play him. But we could all affirmatively see that Kyle Allen wasn't good and they weren't playing him. So then we're trusting his, assumption of rational personnel management, when we, on our own independent evaluation, found something different. That being said, it's still uncertainty, probably going away from uncertainty when it comes to DJ Moore. And I mean, already you were playing with fire with Curtis Samuel anyway because of low volume. Greg Olson, I'm not really going to go there. DJ Moore, I suppose I'm more into in PPR leagues, but it isn't like DJ Moore was having a lot of weeks that. See, I keep thinking about FOMO, fear of missing out. Like, I'm not really fearing missing out on what the Grier to Moore connection is going to do this week. But it's really hard to say otherwise what's going to happen. And by the way, Ian Thomas was killing his own fantasy value and with Kyle Allen's help. I mean, there wasn't much there anyway, so I don't think people were going to play Ian Thomas. Either way, this is a game. You have Carolina that already seemed to kind of go, ugh. Like the wind went out of the sails when Ron Rivera got fired. And then you have Indy, whose win really, they hit rock bottom against New Orleans. But they also see what's going on here. Like Frank Reich's having a conversation with Jacoby Brissett, and they're going to change up the offense and have a new look. Why are you doing that in week 16? And I had some people disagree with me vehemently, and that's cool. As we talked about before the show, I don't mind if people disagree with me.
Right, let's debate and discuss.
I just thought, like, if you're going to be open to debating and discussing, Jacoby Brissett and Frank Reich sit down and say, how can we make this pass offense better? Why not do that like 3 weeks ago when it was not getting the engine to turn over and you were still in the playoffs?
Yeah. What's the old saying? Too little, too late.
Yeah.
Bloom, I want to talk about something that makes me happy, and that's certainly not the Colts. But your picture here, dude. Everybody watching on YouTube, check that out. The picture of you on the little super right here. See?
Yeah.
Same morning all. You look very happy. You and Kate.
That was a good moment. I had my halo on.
Okay. I like Sigmund Bloom with his halo. I like talking about, the Colts. And here's the thing. Like, I had a lot of Marlon Mack questions last night. And it's like, Marlon Mack's like a running back 3. I'll flex Marlon Mack, but I'm not going to get too excited because they won't put the foot on the gas. Maybe they're trying something new and something's different, but it's week 16. I can't take that gamble. I can't take that risk, Bloom. And if they wanted to, and again, it gets against Will Grier. I'm not expecting Will Grier to light up the scoreboard. So thus, I'm not expecting the Colts to have to counteract that and be explosivo offensively. So I'm not really excited. T.Y. Hilton, I'm like, what the heck flex? Like, I'm not trusting him. Yeah, it's kind of depressing. Maybe Jack Doyle as a low tight end one. Fine. There you go.
Well, look, I'm not going to talk you out of playing T.Y. Hilton this week. As we get closer, especially if he's practicing in full by tomorrow, I don't know what his practice status was tomorrow. Yesterday, maybe he already was. If I see him get in a full practice, they said he escaped the game without setbacks. Then T.Y. Hilton's the kind of dude I'm going to truck with, even with Jacoby Brissett throwing in the ball. But as you said, otherwise, Jack Doyle, nah. Mac, like you said, actually, you're factoring in your projection for Will Grier here, because if you think Will Grier is going to match what the Carolina folks thought, like, there's not really much there to develop, then Mac's probably a good play. If you get that second half nursing a lead, because Carolina's run defense also in give up mode, also absolutely exploitable in fantasy league. So Mac is a bit of a matchup play. Last week, he couldn't get out of the mud against New Orleans. I mean, like running in wet cement against them. So that will test you, but just as a data point, Cecil, I'm going Mike Boone over him, probably DeAndre Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Raheem Mostert, Kenyon Drake. I mean, it's still, after last week, maybe this offense is spruced up. Maybe things do better. And I just think that Mac, it's again, fear of missing out. Is Mac going to be a weak winner? I mean, maybe if the Carolina run defense is that bad and Will Grier is that bad.
Yeah. Cincinnati, Miami. I was thinking there's no way we get through 10 games in an hour. And then I'm like looking at some of these games like, oh, Cincinnati, Miami. Okay, that's pretty simple. Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, please. And thank you.
Yeah. Cincinnati, if they lose, they clinch Joe Burrow. There's still a chance they could mess that up. Miami, if they want Chase Young, they need to lose. But, Ryan Fitzpatrick has them out of that mode, although they were clearly worse than the Giants. So that shows you where they're at in the pecking order. A team also looking at Chase Young. Andy Dalton's a quarterback 2 super flex. If you believe that Miami's defense just creates good things, and they generally do. Yes, Joe Mixon. We saw that. There was a time this year they were saying, do we start Joe Mixon? We do start Joe Mixon in the fantasy championship. Tyler Boyd, especially in PPR leagues, I tend to say play, because, again, it's Miami's defense. And I know that he didn't do anything last week. I think Stephon Gilmore was on him. We're not going to hold that against him. If you really are desperate and you just want to throw a Hail Mary, John Ross only played about 1/3 of the snaps. Alex Erickson played 2/3 of the snaps. They're playing a lot more 2 tight end. So, again, love Joe Mixon. But either of them could hit on one long play because it's Miami. So, yeah, Cincinnati fans, you're sweating a little bit. If you win 2 games, you might lose Joe Burrow, and you're playing Miami. And Cleveland next week.
Miami side, Mike Gesicki, tied into streaming option. It's week 16. I don't know why you're doing that, but maybe you are. And then Devontae Parker, Bloom. Watch the injury status. Watch the practice report. That's about the only thing. Was never a Laird believer. I don't know why people were, but hey, it's Devontae Parker for me, and that's about it. Fitzpatrick, right? Low end QB1, sure.
Yeah. So I look at the Miami side, and Cincinnati's defense actually isn't terrible. I mean, they're better than Miami's defense. I do still like Ryan Fitzpatrick as a streamer this week. He's one of my favorite. If you don't have one of the 7 or so quarterbacks that we play every single week, Fitzpatrick's one of my favorites. He gives you running ability. He gives you that loose, wide open play that we love for fantasy. And look, he's got Albert Wilson back now. So he's got Wilson, Hearns, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Isaiah Ford's pitching in. The running game doesn't do anything. He's the leading rusher for the team. So all that sounds great. Now, if you really have to dig deep, if for a running back 2 or a DFS hit, maybe could be Myles Gaskin. We saw this trending for Gaskin to overtake Laird. He looked better than Laird last week, and this could be his audition in your deep dynasty leagues. If Gaskin's out there, add him now, because in the next 2 weeks he could gain a lot of value. Scuba, snorkel, submarine cease. And I think you played Devontae Parker. I mean, I think he's earned that at this point. And again, we're always talking about hitching our wagon to quarterbacks. I'm fine with hitching my wagon to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
Do it.
Mike Gesicki is not one of my favorite tight ends to play, but that could work out. This could be still kind of a fun game. There were T-shirts printed, the Tua Tagovailoa. I'm tripping over that. So this is like one of the T-shirts that you're going to find at a thrift store. Find one for me for like $2 and 3 years, and maybe I'll wear it.
To a Tagovailoa.
Thank you.
Tagovailoa.
And his little brother's there too now, right?
Yeah. Junior Tagovailoa. I don't know what
Yeah.
his name is. Anyways, to his little brother. Let's move on and talk about our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers and, well, traveling to face the Jets. It does matter. And it matters that Juju Smith-Schuster could be back.
Yeah.
How are you weighing the Juju thing? Because, okay, Connor's back, cool, and Duck's out there doing his thing, fine. You're not starting any tight ends. But if Juju's back, kind of back, then, okay, Deontay Johnson, James Washington, you look at differently. If Juju's like all the way back, that really changes things. So kind of the Juju Smith-Schuster factor will weigh in here with all of your Steelers decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect him to play. If he does play, I'm not sure if he's going to be 100%. Right now the latest was that Tomlin said he's going to follow the same schedule as last week, and he didn't play last week. I do think if Juju plays, so I'm fascinated by James Washington and Deontay Johnson this week because the Jets' run defense is good, because the Steelers aren't committing to the run in a close game last week. So that's even more incentive to think that Devlin Hodges, Duck is going to, and it's funny, Duck is like floating dead in the water now after last week. It's like, would Steelers have no quarterback? Yeah.
Will they get, is there a quick hook? And, I'm assuming we'll get to Denver eventually, but is there, because David Bile might get a quick hook for Kyle Sloter. And is there a quick hook for,
I don't know.
Paxton
I hope
Lynch?
not. You're right. Paxton Lynch. Oh my! I thought you were going to say Mason Rudolph. Paxton Lynch. Wow. See, Paxton Lynch starts a playoff game for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, right? Like, wouldn't that just be the ultimate cherry on
that
top?
would be the football gods being like this to me.
That's a football gods version of a fart joke. That's what that is. Okay, so let's get back on track because I said fart. Look, if Hodges is playing, you like his aggressiveness. What the Steelers really need is a new offensive coordinator, by the way. I am fascinated with James Washington going up and getting it downfield. He can make it all happen in one play, and Deontay Johnson can make it all happen in one play with his run after catch ability and his route running and his speed. He's just a real dynamic athlete. You can see it, and he's getting it. So both of these guys are good what the heck flexes because the Jets are going to encourage you to throw more. The Steelers probably are going to throw more, and these guys can break some big plays. Connor, he's down in those like what the heck flex running backs. He's with like Myles Gaskin and those guys this week, although he did score last week and he looked pretty good in the passing game. And that's where we are. The Steelers need to win this one. The Steelers are still on track. If they can beat the Jets and probably a Ravens team led by Robert Griffin III next week, they will go to the playoffs. And it may be with Paxton Lynch. And when you think playoffs and Jets cease, you got to think Doug Bryan. And you got to think also that game that if it was like 2 minutes longer, Mark Sanchez in the AFC title game might have taken the Jets to the Super Bowl. And it made me think this morning, Cease, the Steelers have won a lot of ridiculously lucky games for them in the playoffs, starting with the Immaculate Reception, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's sometimes, and then someone said, but you got T-Bowed. This week they get Darnold.
Robbie Anderson was sick. Sent home from practice yesterday. It's Thursday morning. We're recording this. Just double check if you're considering Robbie Anderson. Getting louder with Crowder, right? And, revenge game. Le'Veon Bell. Just come back to Pittsburgh. It's fine. Yeah. We're all fine now.
And Bob Harris said a couple weeks ago, divorce the name from the numbers. I'm okay with benching Le'Veon Bell this week. I mean, what game has Le'Veon Bell had this year that you really missed out?
That's the FOMO thing again, right? FOMO. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell's on my bench. Fine. I might sabotage drop him.
Right. Like I'm benching Bell for Mostert. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm benching Bell for Mike Boone. Well, yeah, you're crazy if you don't. Crowder and Anderson are interesting, if only because, again, it's still the Steelers. So most of the time, if the pass rush doesn't get home, someone's open. That could be Robbie Anderson for a long touchdown. Jamison Crowder's coming in with some momentum. So these are, again, what the heck flex plays. I could see the Steelers still winning this game handily and Anderson and Crowder putting up some numbers here. But with the Jets, I mean, Cease, this is like a good article to write or a good segment to try to do, right? Like, whose fans do you feel the most sorry for right now? I mean, Tom Coughlin just got fired. So you actually kind of don't feel bad for Jags fans for a second. You're like, oh, that's like the wheel turning forward. If the Jets the team that you feel the worst for of any, even worse than Browns fans, Dolphins fans, Washington fans even.
Ooh, I don't know, dude. How do you feel worse than Browns fans?
I mean, at least they have like they don't. Well, at least they don't have Adam Gase. Like that's it. That's where the argument like it begins and ends. Like the worst place your franchise can be is if Adam Gase is your head coach.
Staring at tacos. Okay, let's move on from that and talk about the Giants and Washington in this one. Saquon Barkley should, of course, be in everybody's lineup. Super excited about that. What about Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton now with Daniel Jones back in? They said 2 to 4 weeks. It was just 2. He's back. He's going to be slinging it. How's that impact this NFC East tilt?
Yeah, I don't like, and this is a big Chase Young game also. I don't like, and I know Chase Young said he's come back to school. Come on. Anyway.
And that was a TMZ thing. He's like, it was under an umbrella. Like, what are you doing? He's saying, so like, I know that was a report and he did say it, but it's like, man, he'll come out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. The agent probably told him, you don't say anything until, or whoever's advising him. Danny Steely Dan, I don't like him as much as Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I could see Jones being a Week 16 hero against Washington with the players he has around him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to talk you out of playing him over, like, I don't know. I mean, it's tough.
Kirk Cousins,
like,
I would
sure, or even like Aaron Rodgers on the other side of that game.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm just saying, like that's when I have to pause and say, like, I might say I'm going to play Rodgers with my rankings and my projections, but I'm not going to say you're wrong and you, because that's the thing is like we get to Week 16 because we're all highly intelligent fantasy football players. I'm not giving you advice to just say do this or do that or like this is my pick. I'm going to say if I actually feel definitively, I'll tell you. If it's closer, I'll say this is what I would do, but trust your gut because it got you to Week 16. Saquon Barkley's alive. Finally, it culminates. If you struggled with your first round pick, he can maybe still play like a first round pick. Of the receivers, I would rank them: Shepard for the highest floor, especially in PPR leagues; Slayton for the highest ceiling, especially in non PPR leagues; and then Golden Tate's just mere what the heck flex. But he's done it a couple of times on one play this year, including against the Patriots. And if you really have to throw a Hail Mary at tight end, or again, if you want to look for a DFS play that might be low owned, Caden Smith, Evan Ingram's gonna have surgery.
Yeah.
You do the 5th year option on if you're the advisor, you do the 5th year option on Evan Ingram, injury guaranteed.
Yes.
And then trade him.
It's always about the your fit or best player available in the draft. I feel that way in this case. It's like, always draft best player available because you'll just draft them and you'll go beat people with those better players. Yeah. But we need something. We need to move on and talk about Washington. Yeah, I guess, right? So what are we talking about? Adrian Peterson? Okay, sure. Okay, fine. McLaurin. Right, McLaurin and Haskins. I just have fun watching Haskins because it's like
he's getting better.
A train wreck, and then there's some flashes, and now there's more flashes. So keep showing that kid.
Yeah, what's nice about watching Haskins play is he doesn't look afraid to make mistakes. He doesn't look like when
mistakes don't stick with him.
He's gonna give it his best. I mean, we're gonna get to see Dwayne Haskins' real attempt, no matter what franchise, what coaching there's around him. There's reasons for hope. And, this is a team that's going to have a top 5, top 6 pick, and they have their quarterback. But for fantasy, what's interesting here, Cecil, is Washington. I mean, this has been one of those offenses. I mean, Cecil, I think we talked about the New England offense. Like everyone's like, get out of the car and push. Washington's offense, like the engine was on fire, and they had to get out of the car. Just save yourself.
Where's the Mountain Dew?
And now, Adrian Peterson. I mean, you're probably telling you to play him. He's going to get 20 touches. He's running his heart out. It's the Giants. And you see Janoris Jenkins, New Orleans Saint.
Saw that.
All I want for Christmas. Anyway, I just want it because New Orleans, if the Saints can win the Super Bowl, here's how the football universe implodes on Louisiana. It's the LSU wins the national championship in New Orleans and the Saints win the Super Bowl. That's it. The city's just going to it's going to like the Mayans, we're just going to astrally project and turn into pure energy. Football will be over. So Janoris Jenkins gone. You got to play McLaurin. Look what he did last week. I mean, I think that with Haskins playing better, I'm going to be loath to tell people to put Terry McLaurin on the bench because I feel like chances are better than not that he's going to score another long touchdown.
Well, let's do this then. We got another game. We got plenty of other games coming up, including, well, Detroit and Denver, Bloom. And I mentioned David Blau with that short hook. Kenny Galladay's going to get his. Chris Harris Jr. will be on him, and there will be a play where Chris Harris Jr. is not on him or something, and Chris Harris Jr. gets burned. There's one play. It's happened in innumerable games now, whether it's Stephon Diggs or Keenan Allen or DeAndre Hopkins. Doesn't matter. Smoke Brown, yeah, Kenny Galladay's going to get his, even if it's garbage time, and even if they do switch quarterbacks from David Blau. They don't run the ball. Coach Fangio talked to him yesterday. I do believe they're preparing for carry on to be back. There's some some mystery here with the Lions running back thing. I'm not starting any line. I don't care if carry on is back this week. I'm not starting him.
Well, probably not. Okay, and I like what you bring up, and this is where we get the special Cecil Lammey insight. This Bronco show. I like what you bring up about Chris Harris, because it might scare you away from Kenny Galladay. And I'm not saying Kenny Galladay's a must start. I'm not starting Galladay over McLaurin. We just talked about for
No.
But at the same time, there's a path there for Galladay to hit. And then Danny Amendola in PPR leagues.
Yes.
Danny Amendola might be a better play than Galladay in PPR leagues from this team right now.
Think of it as Cole Beasley and John Brown when these two teams played, when those two teams played.
And what did Beasley have, 6 for 110 and a touchdown or something like that?
Yep.
So then you get to Kerryon Johnson, and he's been practicing in full. And so this is where I want to ask you, how do you feel about Denver's run defense lately?
It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if Detroit's going to have commitment to the run, because it doesn't seem like we really want to see Ty Johnson. They give him 6 carries. Exactly. They don't have that commitment. So, and as I said, Fangio is preparing for Kerryon.
Yeah. So, where Kerryon Johnson starts to get interesting is if we're looking at other running backs, in this game, maybe Kerryon Johnson or Phillip Lindsay, or some of these running backs that don't have momentum coming into the game, maybe a Marlon Mack that we talked about. The only reason I hesitate to tell people there's no way I'm playing Kerryon Johnson this week is he has been practicing in full, I think, for 2 weeks, and he's got the fresh legs. At this point, maybe he comes out like he's shot out of a gun. He looks like that anyway. So if we're doing the recap Sunday night, and Kerryon Johnson ran for 150 yards and had a couple of breakaway runs, I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked at all. I'm not counting on that. I'm not projecting that, but I can see it in his range of outcomes this week. But Detroit's also been playing one of the worst teams in the league, and they just said they're going to keep Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia. How did the interview go, though? What was your vibe from Matt Patricia compared to the vibes you got from other coaches this year?
Oh, he was very happy. He was happy, and but it's always funny because teams will treat you differently. And this time it was state your name and your affiliation every time you address coach. And I was like,
wow.
Hi, this is Cecil Lammey again from the Fan that I just talked to you 30 seconds ago. And I have to say my name. It was almost like being presented in front of the king, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bow to your sensei, whatever it was. I just thought it was weird. I was like, usually we don't do that. Anyway.
CC got the call. CC got the call from the governor. They said, turn the electric chair off.
Turn the electricity up because Drew Lock's going to go nuts this week. Who's this week's Brashad Perriman? Might be Tim Patrick. Now, not 3 touchdowns. Okay, let me be very clear there. But Tim Patrick's going to have a nice game as a what the heck flex. I'll throw him in there. Sure. I believe Locke will have a bounce back game. He doesn't let bad plays stick with him. All those games not too big of him. All those sorts of things. Cortland Sutton's going to do his thing. I love Cortland yesterday talking to him about the Pro Bowl snub. And he's like, it is what it is. And everyone asked him a bunch of questions. All he said was, it is what it is, because Cortland's pissed, man. He should be a Pro Bowler. He's a damn good receiver who's done it with 3 different quarterbacks, all with differing skill sets. So, expect that production to continue. Noah Fant, expect him to continue as at least a tight end 1, lower end if you're nervous. But I wouldn't be nervous against the Lions passing attack. The only thing I'm nervous about is Phillip Lindsay going to produce. Will they actually use him? He had some maybe comments of frustration that were boiling over a little bit, as much as Phillip can, because he usually just tries to be team friendly with his answers. But, it's about consistency. It's about feed and fill. and they haven't done it really since the Packers game. Don't know if they'll do it this week, but if you start Phillip Lindsay as, let's say, an RB2 or a flex play, yeah, it's fine. Totally fine.
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting Lindsay, you're starting him because Detroit's been playing so badly, and it's a game script play and hope for a touchdown or maybe even 2 touchdowns. But the FOMO on Lindsay is not there at all. Has he even had like one of those week winning games this year, like he was putting up last year? I mean,
he had 100 yards, but it was like against the Chargers in week 5, and then the Packers game he had the only time he's had 20 plus carries in his career.
Right.
Was against Green Bay, and he hasn't had a carry or a reception over 20 yards since week 9.
Exactly. That's the thing. He doesn't, that explosiveness is not there. And they committed to him as the feature back, the lead back. And
because Royce can't, you got to move on from Royce Freeman. But anyway,
woo!
It's Broncos show.
There you go. The thing here we have, though, is unlike Detroit, Fangio has this team still fighting. And Drew Lock is like a quarterback 2 super flex DFS play. That, did you see what Jameis Winston did? Drew Lock's not going to be shy. See, what's it going to be? 60 degrees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful day. No winter weather here. Like again, some of these guys. I mean, I'm going to break ties against Phillip Lindsay, although it won't shock me if he gets a touchdown or 2, just because he hasn't been explosive. Sutton. I mean, again, like I like Terry McLaurin. I like Haskins to McLaurin versus the Giants better. And the question here is like Darius Slay on Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton, of course, has blow up game in him, but I like you calling out Tim Patrick. Because see, I just had Tim Patrick as a snorkel scuba submarine guy that we're watching. He wants to give the Broncos something to think about when they go into the market, whether it's the draft or free agency, thinking about their number 2 receiver in the offseason. And Fant could absolutely hit. And everything good with the last week when he got shaken up?
Yeah, everything's good there.
So, yeah, I mean, Fant, has big... And Fant seems like the guy... See, we already saw it a couple times this year where, like, poor tackling defenses or defenses are just kind of going through the motions. And the next thing you know, he has, like, a 70-yard touchdown. That could absolutely happen for Fant this week.
Yeah. And by the way, Peckish is like Mostert over Lindsay.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Totally fine.
No hesitation.
By the way, now you've made me sad, Bloom. Nobody can see this, or at least read it because it's probably blurry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 58 degrees on Sunday, and we're not going to get snow on Christmas now. Damn it.
Yeah.
45 and no snow. Anyway, it's a white Christmas, however you want to make it, at Oakland, at Los Angeles. And let's talk about those Raiders minus Josh Jacobs and with DeAndre Washington in there. And there's going to be a lot of DeAndre Washington questions. We'll get to the Chargers side in a little bit, but that's really the interesting part with Oakland. It's like, okay, Washington's back, and you had to wait a week if you picked him up 2 weeks ago because Jacobs did play last week. He's not going to play this week. So Washington, RB2, go.
Yeah, I'm not super confident in Washington. I'm not super confident in Oakland. I think in terms of confidence levels, Waller is the one guy that you still have it. Now, I think Hunter Renfrow is going to be back this week. We'll check on that, make sure as expected that it happens. And that takes a little edge off of Waller's upside. It helps Derek Carr a little bit. Chargers defense has been better, even though last week did not go well against Minnesota, and especially Mike Boone scoring the touchdowns at the end. But that's a better offense than Oakland's offense. And, just Oakland's been playing so poorly. Jacksonville's been one of the pushover defenses lately. And what did Oakland put up? 16 against them? And that was with Josh Jacobs. And you know that in terms of overall quality of the offense, DeAndre Washington's a downgrade. So I'm not super excited to put him. If someone asked me DeAndre Washington or Phillip Lindsay, I'd have to be like, to think about it. And I'm not that into Lindsay. And again, the Chargers defense has been playing much better going into last week before that collapse. So you don't know what you're going to get here. See, what I find interesting, off-season stuff, because we're looking at off-season.
Right.
This is another team with a big quarterback decision. Because the quarterback market this offseason is going to give you some options where you're going to look at what you got and look at what's out there. And you're like, And we know that Gruden is kind of fickle. So I think they can get out with minimal dead cap now if they move on from Derek Carr. And certainly I think they could find a trade partner for Derek Carr. He's reasonably priced now. So that's something to think about here as we watch these last few games.
Yeah, it's something to think about as we go to the Chargers side of things. And there's the ever-popular Austin Eckler or Melvin Gordon debate. Might as well be both. They're about the same, Bloom, and PPR leagues especially, right? Against the Raiders, where's your confidence level for these Chargers assets?
Yeah, and it's against the Raiders, so you probably like it. Again, Jacksonville came back to life last week. Chris Conley had 2 touchdowns. You're playing Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Probably Allen still had in PPR, and non-PPR, it's close. Williams has been playing really well. Phillip Rivers is a tough call as a streamer. Easier call as a quarterback 2 super flex. Could hit as a DFS play. But at the same time, the White sees the white Christmas is the white in Philip Rivers' hair. I mean, this is it. Is this the farewell, by the way? Because wouldn't it be perfect actually if we didn't even get sentimental about Philip Rivers and he just like exits stage left after the season? I mean, do you think he wants to be a backup or a bridge quarterback?
No, he's probably like Eli, right?
Yeah. So the Chargers have Tyrod Taylor under contract next year. Rivers is going to want at least $25 or $30 million. I don't know. It's again quarterback decisions. That's like the theme here. These teams in the offseason, their quarterback decisions. So the trend is that unless Rivers was playing a horrible team that was falling apart, he's been falling apart. And that started against Oakland. Remember that Thursday night game when they were picking everything he was throwing downfield? So that doesn't necessarily give you confidence in Rivers, but the way that Allen and Mike Williams and Austin Eckler are playing right now, you get all that talent when you put Rivers in your lineup and Melvin Gordon. See, so I'm going to say Eckler ahead of Gordon, especially in PPR leagues, because Gordon got benched for his fumbles last week. This is like I remember Arian Foster did this to me before he was the great Arian Foster. It was the one chance he was going to get. And he was out on the plank for the fumbles, and I think he fumbled right away. It might have been week 15, early in his career, and then he got put on the bench. That could happen with Melvin Gordon this game. Absolutely could happen in this game. He did get back on the field and get some receptions at the end. You're probably playing Melvin Gordon, but again, if someone said Mostert or Gordon did have a 100-yard game and a touchdown in the first matchup, but there's a risk with Gordon. And what are we fearing missing out on? I'm not sure. Justin Jackson's healthy. He can get mixed in. If you have Hunter Henry, there's not fear of missing out with him. He did have a touchdown in the first matchup of 4 for 30. With Hunter Henry, see, so if these last 3 or 4 weeks with Hunter Henry had been, say, weeks 5 to 8, we'd be getting a lot of questions like, is it time to just bench or even drop Hunter Henry?
Right, shut him down.
It might not be time to play him.
Yeah, double true. A very interesting game, Dallas and Philadelphia. Now,
playoff game.
Cooper Rush took the first team reps, majority of them yesterday. They say that Dak's going to be fine. So, Bloom, let's move forward. If you agree that Dak's going to be fine, they say it. I'll listen to it. I'll mostly agree with it. And Dak's, top 7 fantasy QB1, whatever, this week against Philadelphia. Zeke and Pollard. We just got done with Gordon and Eckler, right? And weighing those 2 options. Oh, Zeke and Pollard. Like you did something, Dallas, that you maybe unintended consequences or unintended results, like where it's like you could keep using Pollard and still get his thing. Like Zeke's going to get his, but that doesn't mean that Pollard just has to, collect dust on the sidelines.
Yeah.
You could use him. Michael Gallup's, it's always a little wonky with the Cowboys wide receivers and Cooper, how healthy, where is he at, blah, blah. But fantasy aside, I just want to watch this game.
Yeah, it's the NFC East Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Philadelphia would have to take care of business next week. I think what they're going to play, like Washington or the Giants. I'm sorry, the Giants. So winner goes to the playoffs and hosts a playoff game. And so we've seen that these weak division winners often win that game where they're the home underdog in week 1 of the play. The beast quake, right? This is tough. This Dak thing is tough. What did Zeke say? Like he can't imagine throwing the ball with the injury, the AC joint injury. We'll talk to Dr. Gene about it tonight. We're gonna get together tonight, right?
Yes, but I will be on the air. So
okay. I'll be running the show.
And because people were asking like, what will you guys be watching? I said, they'll be watching me because I'll be on there. So I will be down here on the lower box. You can just mute me, Bloom. Because I want to jump in and say goodbye to everybody and Merry Christmas tonight. Our last live Thursday night show for a month or a couple months, whatever.
But we'll ask Dr. Gene about this because and this is that classic second guessing. If Dak or say you play Amari Cooper or Michael Gallup and it doesn't go well, Jason Witten, you'll think, I knew he was hurt. I mean, not just hurt in this is all going to be fine kind of way, although I thought that was how Jameis Winston was hurt too. But hurt in a way that's going to affect his effectiveness. Also, Dallas out in Philly, like they could lay an egg in this game. They just, without any kind of warning, laid eggs this year. That being said, I want to see a full practice, and I'll consult with Dr. Gene here, but I want to see a full practice, and then I'll just trust him as I normally would because it's Philadelphia secondary, right? Like if you're shy and you put Dak on your bench because of the shoulder, and then you see him just throwing long touchdown after long touchdown because Philly's secondary is not good. Then you think, why did I put him on the bench? Why? Cooper had 10 for 217 and 3 touchdowns against this team last year. I'm scared of putting that on my bench. First game, Dallas coasted. So we got a lot of divisional matchups. So we can look back at the first matchup. Dallas coasted because Wentz gave up the ball a lot deep in their Dallas territory, and Philly territory, and they got touchdowns. So Prescott didn't have a huge game, but they were moving the ball easily. Because of the Philly secondary, Gallup's worth considering as a what the heck flex, and Witten as a low ceiling tight end in a PPR league if you're really desperate. Which I think there might be a lot of people limping into the title game at tight end because if you just you didn't take a top 3 tight end, hopefully you hit on those other picks. But you're right, Cease. The background here and background for fantasy, if Dak's arm is okay, this could be a big fantasy game too. This could be one of the highest scoring games of the day and a game that gives you an extra boost in the afternoon slot.
Our man Frank Schwab had a question about Carson Wentz or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yeah.
I feel like Wentz has a little higher floor. Fitzpatrick has a little higher ceiling. The mischievous part of me just wants to play Fitzpatrick in championships.
Right. I went with Wentz, or at least I told Frank. Frank will make his own decision because he's a hell of a fantasy football player and a dear friend.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Wentz now. With Greg Ward out there, you feel good. Like, hey, I'm going to be playing Greg Ward as a wide receiver 3 flex option, and to be excited about that. We'll see if the Cowboys can take away Zach Ertz or what they do with Dallas Goedert. But okay, Miles Sanders is going to do his thing. Jordan Howard's not going to play. People, stop putting him in the injury report. Like, same as it ever was. Isn't that what Doug Peterson said?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so yeah, maybe Boston Scott is a crazy what the flex. I wouldn't recommend it, but whatever. Like, yeah, I'm actually very interested in Ward, very interested in Sanders, Wentz, and of course Ertz and Goddard.
Yeah, Wentz is a solid, safe play. He's playing well. He's playing well with what he has to work with. And the first matchup, he didn't do much because they just got behind the 8 ball early, and it was his fault. Some of the pocket presence issues in that one, holding on to the ball for too long. Questions about Miles Sanders. Like you said, Howard, I don't think we're going to see him. Sanders is playing well. And just by the way, real quick to your point about Tony Pollard, rational coaching at this point would dictate Pollard getting like 10 to 12 touches a game.
Oh yeah,
he's a good football player. Pollard's going to be a starter in his second contract somewhere. Boston Scott still what the heck flex with PPR. Miles Sanders versus Mike Boone's going to be a tough call. Actually, I have one league where I'm probably going to end up putting James White on my bench and leaving
PPR league. You'd have to lean towards Sanders, correct? Because he's
getting the 3 or 4. He's getting the 3 or 4 catches. Did you see the touchdown pass that Wentz threw to Sanders in the back corner of the end zone? By the way, you love it, man. That was I would have caught that. See, you would have caught that. Would have left a big bruise on our bellies. That's how we would have caught it because the belly would have just absorbed it.
It would have bounced off mine.
Rock hard abs.
No.
See, our bellies would have just absorbed it like a beanbag chair,
Right.
Last time out, Dallas took Ertz away. I'm not saying bench Zach Ertz. Okay. I'm saying be more inclined to play Dallas Goedert and then one Greg Ward. And I'm very fascinated by Greg Ward. I would not be shocked at all. Even if it's a struggle game for Philadelphia, maybe especially if it's a struggle game for Philadelphia, I could see Ward having like 10 catches in this game. Easily, maybe a touchdown. Yeah. He played his best football at the end of the game last week. He was one of the reasons they won. I think that's going to carry over. And if Dallas puts resources to taking away Zach Ertz, again, that's Goddard and that's Ward and then Sanders out of the backfield too, as long as you're trusting Carson Wentz. And we are, and this is going to be a great game.
Trust it. Arizona, Seattle, not as great. But let's get through the Arizona side because the Seattle side is more interesting to me, Bloom. So let's talk about Kyler Murray and company, and where do you trust your assets therein? Yeah. Some interesting names. Certainly got some Drake questions, got some Christian Kirk questions. Here in week 16 on the road in Seattle, might be pretty tough.
Might be. I don't know. Jadeveon Clowney's not playing, or at least if he is, I think he's very limited. I have a strong pull to endorse Kyler Murray this week. Like maybe over guys like Wentz and Ryan Fitzpatrick and Aaron Rodgers, around quarterback 8 or 9 on the week. Because I know that he didn't put up big numbers for us last week, but it was only because Kenyon Drake ran for 4 touchdowns. The offense looked fantastic against Cleveland. I don't think that Seattle's defense is going to be that well equipped to slow down this. But this has also been a bipolar offense back and forth. I'd like Kyler Murray's ability to add as a runner. I like what he's doing now. Christian Kirk is a little banged up, so we'll watch his practice participation. I want to see a full practice Friday. I want to like him in this game. I want to see the potential for a big game, but that gives me a little bit of hesitation. Kenyon Drake, and again, this is going to be some tough calls, folks. Like Drake versus Mostert. He hadn't been doing anything until last week, but what he did would put you over the top, and he's done that already this year against San Francisco, his first game. And see, there's this debate: is there such a thing as momentum? I mean, to my old 44-year-old mind, it feels like, well, that's a self-evident question, because you're talking about, is there such a thing as emotion, and can emotion influence play, basically? But I think there also is a momentum in the sense of game planning, in the sense of players' confidence coming in week to week. And that, when I think about it that way, that makes me not want to tell anyone to put Drake on the bench because of the way he's playing. The other thing we're watching here, of course, Ricky Seals-Jones. Dan Arnold for the future.
Ricky used to be there.
Yeah, right. I'm thinking of like where Ricky Seals-Jones would have been in the offense if they kept him. It's Dan Arnold getting that opportunity. Demir Bird came on a little bit last week.
Yeah.
So, again, that's one of the reasons I think they like Kyler Murray. I don't know what's going on with Andy Isabella. I wish we could have been watching Hakeem Butler this year. I thought Arizona was just going to really coast into the January tee times, but they played a fantastic game last week, and that makes me very fascinated in their offense this week.
Let's talk about the Seattle side of things. And if you were holding on to Josh Gordon for this one game, you missed. All right. So is that then DK Metcalf, right? Where's the fantasy gold to be mined that's not named Chris Carson or R-Dub, Russell Wilson here? So we'll be looking at other assets, maybe a dash more of Jacob Hollister, right? It's Vance Joseph's "we're back" defense, so should be quite a bit of Jacob Hollister. In fact, you kind of wonder why the Patriots didn't keep him. Message, maybe a Malik Turner. What that flex? Like, there's, I just feel there's going to be somebody else other than DK and Lockett and Hollister. Probably another play there. I don't know who it is.
Well, see how you project the offense this week again might come down to your evaluation of Murray and Kingsbury and the Arizona offense, because
and pushing it and making Russell Wilson be like, screw you.
Yeah, exactly.
4 touchdowns.
This is one of your potential quarterback duel games, which is great for fantasy. If you were buying the story that Tyler Lockett was hurt and then really sick, and now he's back and he's fine, that last week made that seem like the accurate depiction of what's been going on with him for the last month. Play him, folks. It's against Arizona. Arizona's been not quite as bad as Miami, but and I know Cleveland, but that's Cleveland. Generally, they're a tonic for the offenses that are facing them. You play straight up with Russell Wilson. He's like quarterback 5, 6, 7 this week. Unless it's those obvious guys like Jackson and Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, you're probably playing him. If you're just asking me Wilson or Tannehill, that gets tougher. Carson, obviously, in your lineup. Metcalf has been safe. Metcalf the rookie has been a safe week-to-week play for like 2 months now. So even with Jacob Hollister maybe playing a bigger role because of the matchup, I think, DK Metcalf's a solid wide receiver 3, and then there's Hollister. And I think this is, again, kind of like just paying respect to the fantasy gods. I know what Vance McDonald and Tyler Eifert whiffed in this matchup, but Ricky Seals-Jones, that's why Ricky Seals-Jones was on my brain, Cease. Ricky Seals-Jones had 2 touchdowns against this team last week. So if you got Hollister, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not playing Hollister over Darren Waller, but Hollister's probably going to be in my lineup. I'm going to contort a little bit. I mean, Hollister, even if Gerald Everett plays, like, I'd probably play Hollister over Higbee and those kind of plays in this one. Well,
we're almost there, Bloom. I honestly didn't think we'd get 10 games in an hour, but we haven't rushed it. There's some
It's week 16. We're never going to rush
City
it.
And Chicago, and of course the Chiefs doing their thing which makes you go Kelsey, Hill, Mahomes. Yeah. Yes, and yes. Running backs.
No.
Who the hell knows? Avoid. Bale, McCall Hardman, what the heck flex? Like, yeah, it's the Chiefs, man. Do their thing.
Yeah, this is real interesting. I mean, from a fantasy perspective, not interesting, but Kansas City needs to keep winning. Well, what's not interesting about it is, like you said, it's Mahomes in your lineup, Hill in your lineup, Kelsey in your lineup, and that's it. I mean, if you really want to throw Hail Mary, McCole Hardman, because of it might only take 2 touches for him to have 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. There's a little bit of deference to Chicago's defense here, but you also wonder about Chicago now that their season is over. Do they have that? There's some teams we're going to watch this week, like Indy is another good one. Do they exhale and loosen up, or do they exhale and just go slack? And this is a primetime game. They couldn't have flexed out a better game for this one.
Yeah. Man. Okay. Bears side.
Yeah.
Well, are you expecting them to exhale? Because that's going to say a lot about Mitchell Trubisky.
Sure.
We're getting a ton of Allen Robinson questions as well in this, and maybe some people sneak in David Montgomery, maybe, although you shouldn't be doing that. Sorry for cursing him, everybody, but he was Motorboat Rookie of the Year. You knew this. You should have not trusted it. But yeah, Bears to me seem like a team, especially with Nagy's safe. Would you agree, Bloom? Like,
yeah, God. Yeah.
It's like with Matt Patricia safe. Why do you think when I talked to him yesterday, he was so damn happy? Like, I going, who cares? Gonna go on there, you're gonna take a trip to the Mile High, maybe go get some edibles. Like, I don't know. Watch out for the gummy bears. They're not always gummy bears. So Matt. Matt Nagy. He's safe. Don't you just feel exhale game coming?
Yeah,
like, man.
Maybe. And Matt Nagy against a Kansas City team that isn't well. Steve Spagnuolo's defense has been improving. See, who's the early favorite in 2020 Motorboat? Like, what's the Boston College kid? AJ Dillon?
Do I want to scare everybody and say Jonathan Taylor?
Ooh.
Oh, no, I'll pick somebody. I'll look at their hind end and I'll be like, that's a good angle.
Trubisky's a streamer. I mean, Trubisky's been fantastic over the last 4 weeks or so. He's resumed where he was last year when he was peaking. You're not playing anyone in the backfield. Well, see, here's the thing, right? Like, you're not playing anyone in the backfield, and maybe Tariq Cohen as a PPR deep league play to lock in 8 or 10 points. But this is why I think Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson are relatively safe plays. Although Kansas City's defense has been playing better. And if we think of the whole emotional ride with Mitchell Trubisky this year, it feels a little scary to play Miller and Robinson. But Cecil, the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think, they're both top 10 fantasy receivers. Are you putting someone that's been a top 10 receiver, or you can even think of it as Trubisky, the Trubisky Miller connection, the Trubisky Robinson connection? Are you really putting that on your bench that's been a top 10 play in week 16? Yeah, that feels like overthinking it in week 16.
Well, let's move on to Monday Night Football, and that is Green Bay at Minnesota. You've been talking a lot about Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure there's some Packers fans listening, Bloom, that go, Bloom hates Aaron Rodgers.
No.
There's just probably better matchups this week. There's probably better quarterbacks, quite a dozen quarterbacks that are better than Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's a QB2. Okay. Devontae Adams, you're still playing, wide receiver 2 if you're nervous, fine. Aaron Jones still playing, right? And let's talk about this. Do you really hate Aaron Rodgers? I hate the damn State Farm commercials. Like, I'm sorry. It's worn itself out. Let's just say that.
I'll say this. I don't hate Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know that I would enjoy spending time with Aaron Rodgers. So I think that he's like, to me, it's so hard. You've seen when Aaron Rodgers faces a bad defense, like an affirmatively bad defense, 4 touchdowns, it's easy. You get Aaron Rodgers. It's all, it's really interesting, Cease, because Aaron Rodgers is like one of the moodiest players in the NFL. Like, you can really see like how he's feeling about how the game is going all the time, and that Aaron Rodgers is all like the peacock, look at me. Like, you see that Rodgers against the bad defenses this year. Minnesota's pass defense has been a bad pass defense, right? Also, complicating things here, if the Rams lose, then Minnesota has nothing to play for. I mean, they can still, as long as Green Bay beats Detroit next week, Green Bay wins the division. Now, I mean, I say they have nothing to play for, but if they can beat Green Bay, they make it less likely that the road to the playoffs goes through Lambeau. So that's something to play for. When you're facing a division rival and you're still looking at the playoffs, you really want to get used to the idea, speaking of exhaling and saying, like, well, this game doesn't mean anything, so we're just going to kind of coast. I don't see Mike Zimmer and his culture producing that kind of result in this one.
No.
So if it's a play hard kind of game, I mean, Aaron Rodgers could hit for you, but you're going against a lot of trends here, including in the first game. But in the first game, it was so easy for Green Bay to pass on Minnesota. They got up like 21-0, and then Rodgers barely passed in the second half. So, I mean, on one hand, that's an argument for playing him. On the other hand, it's an argument to not play him. It's like Minnesota's defense is so bad, especially if Minnesota's not playing for much, even at home on Monday night, it could get out of hand. What this really boils down to for me is like your preferred streamers, whether for you that's like Murray or Fitzpatrick or Daniel Jones, like I said, or Phillip Rivers or Mitchell Trubisky. I think someone like Jameis Winston you're playing over Rodgers this week, even though he doesn't have Chris Godwin. Jones is in. You just can't ignore his stealing. I mean, you can't ignore a player who's had multiple 3+ touchdown games, like a 3-touchdown game and a 4-touchdown game. I just don't know how. He had a good game the first time out against Minnesota, and you're playing for, of course, you're playing Adams too. So it's in. I mean, I don't want to say let's root for the Rams so that this game has more import, because it's going to have plenty of import for fantasy leagues, no matter what.
Plenty of import on the Minnesota side as we talk about Mike Boone, Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
I even talked to some people last night. They're like, I picked up Amir Abdullah just because, like, I don't, and that's a jock block, right? He'll be there receiving back. I'm not recommending him even as a what the heck flex, but Boone, certainly. Alexander Madison not practicing. Dalvin Cook not going to play. Adam Thielen is the, shaky one. Because fantasy GMs are like, I don't know if I can trust him on Monday night in week 16. And of course, Stephon Diggs, you're trusting at his normal levels. So let's talk about this.
Yeah, Boone I'm playing. I mean, this just looks like assuming Madison doesn't play. And Paul Charchian said on my show on Tuesday that he believes that Madison has a high ankle sprain. Practice participation will tell us the story. Look, unless Madison's getting in a full practice, because he's a rookie. Cecil, you can speak to this. Like a veteran, maybe you play without practice or just limited practice 2 days before the game. A rookie, you're not playing a rookie who can't get a full practice.
No.
Come on. And the fact that they're going to sit Cook makes preserving Madison even more important. So, hey, I'm playing Mike Boone. Fresh legs. He's a fantastic player. This is a fantastic run attack. Even when Green Bay was blowing out Minnesota in the first game. I know the score didn't look like that because Minnesota scratched in the second half. Cook had 115 a touchdown, right? Cook had a 75-yard touchdown in that game. Green Bay's run defense isn't good, folks. Playing Mike Boone. Cousins, Diggs, I think you probably play because he's demonstrated time and time again this year that he has that 5 for 130 and a touchdown in him. Get behind the defense in him. Thielen, I think at this point we're just moving on from. I mean, he could have a big game, but I'm not counting on it. He doesn't have momentum. Same with Kyle Rudolph, even though it's the holiday season, the red zone reindeer. And that's it. We got through 10 games. We still got some time for what the heck flex and ruminations and bruising and musings.
All that good stuff that you can't buy. All right, let's get to what the heck flexes here in week 16. And by the way, Bloom, and I'll get to what the heck flex in a little bit because this is what I really wanted to say.
Okay.
This is why when people give me crap about the preseason, like, oh, it doesn't matter, or even the All-Star road trip, right? And we've learned to adjust that. Lorenzo Booker taught me a very valuable lesson.
Oh, boy.
Just because they're good in practice one day. Like, he was so good in pass protection. Jason Woods somewhere shaking his fist at me. Like, he was better. Anyway, Mike Boone is that example of it's not just the next man up, right? It'll be next man up philosophy in NFL locker rooms. They say it all the time. Next man up. But it's the next man up that's good.
Yeah.
And that's why Mike Boone, he's going to win leagues out there.
I think so too.
That's why this is important. And again, we're super nerdy. We're going to watch preseason. We're going to dig into it. We're going to watch all-star games. Like, we're going to do all of that because it all matters. Because at the end of the year, I'm not going, is Mike Boone good? Or I'm not going, go get Patrick Laird. An apology. Again, Bloom, I don't read Twitter. Like I look at my @replies. I try to answer questions. I try to be nice on social networking, but I like actual human interaction better, like this show. But I will say this. That's why when Patrick Laird gets an opportunity, I don't think any of us are falling all over ourselves being like, get him, pick him up. And it's not just Laird. There's others. Boone is good. And that's the whole point of this thing. Like, if you can identify those guys, the snorkel, the scuba, the submarine, and I got it right. That's what it's about. It's next man up who's good. Mike Boone is good. On par with Alexander Madison. I prefer Madison. You like Boone. Bloom and Boone, but we know that Boone is good, so that gives you confidence when this blankety blank. Sorry, YouTube, for even thinking about cussing. That's when this comes up. Yes, Mike Boone could be a league winner. Anyway, Bloom, sorry, my rant's over.
Yeah. What the heck, Flex? But no, it's good because I see, and to put a punctuation mark on it, I'll just say this: that sometimes the idea of like the first to third string on the depth chart is not the big gap that we seem to automatically think when we say third stringer, especially at the running back position. Running back position is the shallowest position in the NFL in terms of talent, in the sense that the difference between like the best guy on the street and the best guy well, maybe not the best guy in the league, but say the 15th best starter, it's not that much. Not that much. Okay, what that flexes this week? Myles Gaskin. Again, some trends there. Maybe he's going to get a big opportunity this week. Marlon Mack in a matchup play. Of course, DeAndre Washington, Boston Scott still, I think, is good for, a James White kind of line. I'm going to say Todd Gurley at running back, just to say like how not into Todd Gurley I am this week, even though the touchdowns have been coming. You're still counting on the Rams offense. Wide receivers, we've talked about a lot of these guys. We'll come back to them. Danny Amendola and Greg Ward, your PPR specials. Upside plays, guys like James Washington, Robbie Anderson, Hollywood Brown. I think these are your upside plays. Upside plays, but in a different way, not so much big play guys, but guys that can, and Kenny Stills upside play. Jamison Crowder, because again, just he's got momentum. Deontay Johnson, what he can do after the catch, again, assuming Juju's out. I'll say this, Cease. Giants wide receivers and Rams wide receivers are what the heck flexes at best because there's so many. Giants have more momentum than the Rams too. I might like a Giants receiver over a Rams receiver, but Robert Woods has no momentum in this one. Kupp just had a garbage time play. We're not even getting questions about Brandon Cooks anymore. Steven Sims, if you want to go really deep, Steven Sims for Washington.
Kansas Jayhawks, baby.
Yeah. And another one I want to point out just to show how far he's fallen is DJ Moore. I think DJ Moore is a mere what the heck flex this week because of the uncertainty of Will Grier. But it's fantastic. We're going to get in under an hour, Cecil, spend some time, one more. And we're going to be back doing the previews next week. We're going to be doing playoff previews. We're not going to go away. I know what this feels like. Hugs, kisses, everybody. We don't have a holiday party. I wish we had a virtual Audible holiday party. Who would be the one that we have to say someone get a cab? Someone make sure he gets home okay. And from our chat room, the degenerate. I don't know. Then I say that out of love.
Yeah, Jason. Yeah, well, it's a compliment to him. He's
exactly.
Pot stoner DFS degenerate up there in Greeley. So
we love all of our Audible people equally in the sense that we're happy for all of you and you're all important to us.
Man, and I keep raising my arms and damn, I'm ripe. I got to clean up. Go to Broncos. So that is a wrap. We'll do our Merry Christmas. And again, we're not going anywhere, mainly because YouTube's algorithm promotes shows that do lots of shows. So we'll be here bowing to our YouTube overlords. All right, that's a wrap.
Welcome.
Go forth. Kick ass. Double live Gonzo on the wild side. Make it happen and get that dub. Get that hardware. That's what we want. So we'll see you tonight. I'll be there briefly, Bloom, at the end. I'll be there the whole show, but at the end of the show, I really want to jump on those last 5 minutes. Yeah. Because I'll break at 9:55 or 8:55.
Mhm.
8:55 Mountain. So I'll have that last 5 minutes. I just want to jump in and say hi, bye to everybody. And of course, wishing them a happy holidays and all that. So look at this. Freddie J. He knows what's up, right? He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Stay frosty.